called International Ghetto. I didn't know that. And I also didn't know that it was only holding places before deportation.
Wow.
I didn't know this. So we moved into this protected house, and there was one big room. How big, I don't know, but I mean, how big could it be? There were 40 of us in this one room. I remember lying on the floor. They put down some stuff on the floor, and we were all lying on the floor. And my mother was doing cooking for the whole group. So we were there, and one day, an Arrow Cross was the Hungarian Nazi party, and an Arrow Cross soldier, or whatever you call them, came up to the apartment. We were on the 4th floor, and said that everybody has to go down to the courtyard. All the houses had courtyards, you know, like the houses were built like this, courtyard, for roll call. You know, they loved roll calls. You heard of that in concentration camps, so they just loved it. And my mother had the presence of mind to say that, I'm so sorry, but my child is very ill, and put me to bed. And it was a November evening and a November day, and the miserable weather like this. And she said, would you mind counting us here? And when I think about my survivor, I have to contribute it to certain miracles. And that was miracle number 1, that the guy said, okay, all right, so you stay. And the other 38 people went down, and they were directly marched to the Danube, and they were shot into the Danube. Because by this time, they wanted to get rid of the Jews of Budapest, and shipping them out was kind of more complicated, and so they were doing this. They were taking people to the Danube. And not only that, but what they did, because they didn't want to waste too many bullets, they would tie 4 or 5 people together, shoot one of them, and then dump them in the river so the others drowned. So that night, my mother said that this kind of protection we don't need, and we cannot stay here any longer, and we have to go into hiding. Now, hiding is incredibly difficult, because if anybody hid you and they found out that the person was hiding a Jew, he would be killed, the Jew would be killed. I mean, there was no questions asked, just get killed. But my parents knew an old guy who worked for my father, who was a widower. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, a widower. And he was very lonely, and my parents found a woman, and they got together, and they hit it off, and they got married, and they were forever, eternally grateful to my parents. This is before the war. And so they said to my parents, if we could ever repay your kindness, please, I mean, that's what we want to do. So my mother said, we're going to these people. And they lived in a small house in the outskirts of the city, not in the middle in the apartment buildings. And I remember this, actually, it was November, as I said, it was a miserably cold evening. And my mother took my hand. How we got there, I don't know if there was any transportation, but anyway, we got to the house. And she rang the bell. And the guy came out and said, oh, you're here, you're fine, you're safe. I'm so glad to see you, how are you doing? And my mother said, we need a place to stay. Could we please stay with you? And he said, well, hold on, I have to talk to my wife of 3 months or something. But anyway, and he went in, and he came back after a while, and tears were streaming down his face, and he said, I am so terribly sorry, but she is not going to allow you to come in. You're just starting a new life, and it's way too dangerous. We just cannot take the chance. We cannot take that kind of a risk. So you know, imagine my mother was 34 years old, I was 7, and so we're standing there in this miserable evening, and it's dark already, and he won't let us in, and what's going to happen to us? I